Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 144th episode of My Leap of Faith. I am just beyond excited today because I get to share something that I've been percolating with for about a month, maybe. And it's just brought so many beautiful activations and codes into my life, and I love that it corresponded with this episode of 144. I'm going to tell you the name of the book. I don't think I've ever really gone so deep into a written word. But I will tell you before I start that from the moment that this book arrived into my life, I basically could not put it down. And I carried it around with me. I even made it a special a bookmark. And it got to the point where even Richard was picking it up and being like, "What are you reading?" And then, a hummingbird is saying hello. And then I told you guys I wanted to read it for a second time before I shared this energy with you. And then in my second reading of it, I had a highlighter and I started just highlighting the areas that were, super calling out to me. And what I realized is basically I was highlighting the entire book. And I was like, I don't know, I can't read the entire book to them. So, and it's so weird. The second time I read it, new codes opened up to me. So I know that this is, they call it a codex. It's like when you are in a mystery school and when you're ready to absorb new activations and openings, one of the passages I'm going to read to you talks about it. And I talked about this a few weeks ago. You can read the words and they will mean one thing. But if you go into the spaces behind and between the words, it blossoms open into something that it's almost, it's like a remembrance inside of you. And in saying that, when I went down this path, a lot of the information I already knew. And so when I read it, I resonated deeply with this book, which is why it's so important for my journey. However, that doesn't mean that if you do decide to go to this energy, it may not feel like that. It may be challenging because remember, activations are triggering your DNA to open up you to what you actually are. And if you haven't opened it up in yourself yet, it may feel confronting. It may feel like, what? This girl, this is crazy, or whatever. You may have all these energies come up because they need to be released in order to absorb what you are. Okay, so the book is Angelic Pearls 144. And it's this book is channeled, and the channeling is the Pearl Codes from the Seraphim and the Melchizedek Order, and it's by Zaneta. She's an oracle of the 144, and she's master of the Pearl Codes. Okay, the way it came into my life is one of you had an ascension reading. And your name is Noga. And in our conversation, we just we're vibing off of each other. And she's like, you need to get this book 100%, like run to get this book. And I was like, what? And, I have to, every person is a messenger to us. And I have to feel into the energy of the person to see if I, as I tell you guys, discern if it's resonating. But the energy behind her recommendation just, definitely had me curious. And obviously 144 was another loop for me. So I was like, okay, so, I don't even know how it came to her, honestly. I don't remember her telling me how it landed in her experience, but it's not like this book is widely known. So, that's why I feel like it's meant for very specific people. And I want to talk about that really quick. And I know I always say, if you resonate here and you have discerned and you still are coming back to this energy, it's because you carry this energy inside of you. There is no other reason. We all have like different parts of us that resonate with different things. But in general, I feel like my energy is not for the mass public. And I know that. And I still put out what I am because there is no other place to be, like there is no other energy to imbibe because I don't have anything else but what I am. And so what I meant, and I've talked about this before, I don't do ads. I haven't interviewed anyone up to this point. I've really concentrated on just sharing my energy. So if you are here and you feel me like I feel you, this book is possibly going to open up you to your next expansion. So you guys know how I did an episode called The 144,000, and it was an activation. And what that was, okay, wait, let me back up even a step back. I've done an episode about embodying archangels, okay? That was, I think, God, maybe a year and a half ago. And that was the first step. That was my first step of understanding, like, I feel that I carry that energy in me. I don't feel it outside of me. And I talked about that. And I know like a lot of people, I don't know, no one really replied to that or said anything about that episode, but I know it can be confronting to put yourself in the same category even as the energy of an archangel. But what they showed me is that when we keep separating ourselves from what we are, that's the third dimensional experience, right? Like everything is outside of me. And I am moving through life reacting to the things outside of me. The way they explain it is that the more that you become centered, you realize like if you're attracted to something, if you call in, let's say archangels, if you are imbibing a certain energy, it's because you carry that inside of you. So that was like the first clue that I had. And then we moved here to this property. And again, I've talked about this. My address is 1444. And I remember when we saw the place, we put our offer in, and it was accepted the next day on 2/22/22. And I remember feeling like, I love that the address is 444. And for me, it always felt like there was this angelic presence. Now, the more that I've worked with this land, I know that this land is already in fifth dimension. And it's just like a holding container for that vibration. Almost like, again, training with it. It's not, I dip in and out of fifth, definitely sometimes go to third too. But this energy of the land itself is there already. So then honestly, actually, the way that the 144,000 started coming into me, or why I resonate with that, is an episode, and I think I've talked about it, that Spirit Speakers did, where Judea spoke about it. And when I listened to, and I think it's called like What the Bleep is Going On or something like that. And if you haven't heard it, I will link it below. I'll find it and link it below. But she started this thread in me, almost like she pulled out this thread in me that was like just a little sprout that was like, wait. And then I kind of, when you resonate with something, your energy just automatically wants to understand it and go as deep as you possibly can at this point in your time-space reality. So when that happened, I realized like, oh. And then I had the download of, or actually I think I had this download before, but I have a number with it that I talked about it in activating the 144,000, that each of us that are here carrying this energy, our whole purpose. And I know we think of a purpose as, what am I here to do in this land. But our whole actual purpose is to get to the center of your being. And I mean, it's called the Hara line. And the more that you embody that energy, right? Like I talk about in fourth dimension, you're communicating with that higher self. And in fifth, you allow the whole monad to come through. And what that does is it creates a pillar of light moving through you. And the purpose of that is that we are actually here as vessels, living matter beings, to hold that light that is moving through us and grounding it into the grid of the earth. Now, the download that I got was that there were many of us, and that when we were all centered and grounded, pulled through into the grid, then the ascension of the earth would be possible. It would be ready. It would be, it's not like it's going to happen in a flash and we're not ready. When every one of those 144,000 are anchored into the earth's core grid, then there's this energy that helps everything move forward. And why I talk about this is because if you're here, the chances of that you are one are very, very high. And I'm just here to encourage that exploration and understanding of why you're sensitive. Why do you feel everything? And why is it important for you to go inward to find your light? We are here to help Earth ascend. That is why we are actually here. That is the actual purpose if you strip away everything else. Now, with that, you carry so much light that you're here to amplify it out. And I have goosebumps saying that. So pushing it out, sharing it in any way that you feel called to do. And I did that service to others video a few weeks ago. That's why, they're little threads that I've been giving hints along the way, because the more that you infiltrate and move your energy out, not only does it call like energies to you, like these, like almost like a net, like you're catching these little things and I'm reminding you who you are. But I can only activate so many, right? Like I can only share a vibration that is in so many. But what happens is that when I activate you, then you find a way to start sharing your light and you start activating the people around you. And it's almost like this, like boop, 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 boop. And that's how we get to the 144,000. Now, there are many that are already awakened and anchored. I just happened to meet one about a month ago in Joshua Tree. That was my first. I've met others that I've felt their energy and that's their purpose, but I have not met them, the ones that are anchored yet. So Leah, the one that I met in Joshua Tree, was the first experience that I had of her actually being anchored. Now, one other thing is that this whole thing is, we're going to get into it, but it's also called a grid worker. And, a lot of the times in my own experience too, I thought, I know a grid worker is like I'm called to certain places at certain times, or I've been on trips where we went to one mountain and collected some crystals because they were meant to go to the petrified forest, and I didn't understand why, but I realized oh, Richard knows, he knows where we're going. And I felt like at different times we went to Sedona a few months ago, and there was a huge activation happening and all the planets were aligned. As I looked at my star app and we were there at sunset, and I realized we're not here on vacation. We're here to do work. My energy is doing work here. That's a grid worker. But the ultimate job of a grid worker is to anchor that pillar of light. Now, I asked Leah the other day when I saw her, I said, in that third eye it was called the third eye sensory journey. What you told me, through your eyes is that we each have to be activated to ground in. And she goes, yes, And I said, so who activated you? And she said, oh, I went to Giza into the Great Pyramid, and I had to like beg them to let me spend the night in there. And she's like, at that point, I was so deep in my journey that I knew I could handle it. So she's like, so I was activated by the aliens, and that's where I grounded. And then I asked, okay, so if you grounded in Giza, does that mean that your pillar is only in Giza, or do you bring it with you? And are you also grounded in Joshua Tree? Because my question was, I grounded first in Joshua Tree. Is that where my energy is, or is it here? And so she said, oh, no. You carry this pillar with you. And even though wherever you originated and grounded in, that's where you got activated. But then you go back to where you live, and that's where your like GPS coordinates are. That's where your position is in the grid. So I was like, okay. And she looked at me, she goes, you know, you're a grid worker, right? And I was like, yeah, I know. But I have never met anyone that was already grounded in so that I could ask these questions. Like I have heard of people, you know, but I haven't been able to have one-on-one conversations with them. So, yes. So the pillar of light and the 144,000 are the grid workers. They are here to help the ascension of the planet. Now, before we get too far in this talk, we are not special. We are not, even though there's this huge angelic presence around us and through us, we are not here to be special. And I think like in most enlightened people, or most people that carry that kind of energy, they do it under the radar. It's never in a loud way, because there's no point. Your energy is already like, woo, woo. You don't need to have like the fanfare of, let's say, I don't know, millions of followers, for example, because you're not here to activate that many people, right? Like each of us carry a certain amount of activations in our DNA, and every single one of you that is called to me, it's this agreement that we made a long time ago to, I'm going to wake you up in this particular experience. So if you think about that, you guys have such a big job, and I have such a big job, but the only way that you actually get there is by doing you, like literally clearing out the cobwebs of every conditioning that other people have told you to be, and finding that light that is like the weirdest parts of you, the parts of you that you hated, you know, for your entire life, which for me was introverted. I was super shy, did not like to speak. And that ends up being my gift. Okay. So what I'm saying is, whatever the thing about you that you don't like, that's where you need to nurture that. Like that's where you need to give energy to, because that will be the gift that you share. And of course, that means going into every fear that you have. And God, you know, they never stop. I've talked about that too. They are exactly here to be the catalyst to wake you up, because until you will kind of like jump over that hurdle, you're not ready. And, you know, I'll jump over one, and then I stay in that spiral for a little while, and then I'll find a next one, and then I'll stay in that spiral. And then like this next spiral for me, or leap for me, is teaching. And, you know, okay, I'm teaching on these episodes, but I mean teaching, like taking that role and actually holding space for what I feel each of the modules will do, what each of the modules are here to bring forward. And by the way, side note, I just launched the new website is called myleapoffaith.com, and it's not done, but there is a landing page that's the coming soon of the courses. And if you are at all interested, you can go there, and it shows the layout of how it's going to be. It's going to be a spiral, starting with find your center, and then it goes to transform, which is fire, and then we move to water, which is truth, then we move up to earth, which is earth seed, and then we move over to air, which is embody. And that spiral is like the way I'm creating it is a never ending loop of the journey, so that these tools in each of these modules are going to support you as you move through your entire spiral, as you find your center. But we start with find your center because no matter which dimension you're residing in, that shift is the thing that helps you start your spiral work. And then you get to the end of the spiral, and then you got to go back to the center and re-find, who am I now? Who have I shed and who have I come to be now? And then you go through the loop again. So the way I'm designing this is, no matter where you are in the journey, there's going to be nuggets and activations for you in every single one. Okay, back to the book. So, okay, where was I? So there's this need and this like unsatiable drive to get every one of these 144,000 to find themselves, to find that center space. And look, my experience, I never looked for a spiritual podcast before I was deep in it. Okay. So what I'm saying to you is that the only reason you're here is that even if you haven't thought you're on a spiritual journey, you're on a spiritual journey. You are, whatever stage you're on, whatever brings you to this kind of vibration is your soul. It is 100% guiding you, and you're listening, right? And you're feeling something. And a lot of people say, it's my voice. Again, if I don't listen to these because I don't like my voice, but for you guys, it's the thing. It's the remembrance. It's the code. And I just have to keep putting it out. So, it, like I said, it's your biggest fear. Okay. Then I've shed that already, and I'm moving on, and I feel like, I'm just going to the next hurdle to go into that experience and that spiral. But the hurdles and the spirals never are going to end until you're complete with everything that you came here to do. Okay. So back to the book. When this beauty got into my life, it basically, in a nutshell, goes deeper than I've ever downloaded. And remember, I've not had people to talk about this too. So I talk to you guys about it, but it's not like other people are like, oh yeah, I have this part and I have this part. This book, it's almost like, honestly, it was written for me. And I know that if it was written for me, it's written for all of us. And it's so weird, but the knowledge and the mystery schools and the threads that have come through this book are just so incredible. And they're already mirroring in my life, in my physical life. So, for example, there's one passage that's called Pistis Sophia in this book. And I read it one evening, and then the next day I went to the breathwork ceremony at sunset with Leah. And no joke, in that circle, she said, have you read or have you heard of Pistis Sophia? And I was like, I just literally heard of it yesterday. And that's what I'm saying, because once you download that code, even if you don't know what it is, it doesn't matter, because then the universe is going to start pulling that thread to you in the form of people, podcasts, conversations, knowing, downloads. And this book, it took the combination, I don't know, of all of these separate knowings and separate threads that I went down to investigate, and said, here you go. And okay. So what I would tell you guys is run, do not walk, but run to get this book. It's only on Amazon. It's only in a hard copy. It's minus paperback. It's everything. Now, in the second part of this episode, I'm actually going to go into, so I highlighted the whole book, and obviously I can't read you the whole book. So what I did yesterday is I decided to be an oracle with it and let it tell me what we needed to hear in this episode. So I have, I think, 6 or 7 passages that I'm going to go through with you guys and give you my downloads about it. And explain it to you. So if you want, you can move forward to get the vibration. Or if you don't want to step ahead of the journey and you want to start where you are in the journey, I would say pause here, get the book, read it, and then come back to the second part. Because there'll be just some knowings that I'm going to share with you and help to integrate the particular ones that they're wanting me to talk about. And I am just so thrilled to share this with you guys. I'm so thrilled that it lines up, obviously, numerically with this episode, and the light that this little vessel carries is everything. Okay, so I'll see you in a bit. Okay, our first pull is the Pearl Code 7, which is the Arc. And in this section, there is this area that's called Archangel Metatron Speaks. And they want me to read you the whole section, and then we'll talk about what this brings through. But I think it's going to be self-explanatory. Selected souls were chosen to house within their energetic bodies the AN codes, sourced directly from the Mother Earth of the Mother Universe prior to descending into the current universe, mapped out for them a sacred mission handed from the superior angelic command who oversees divine blueprints and what you know as time. When the physical object known as the sacred AN was brought into physicality by selected beings long ago, yet not so long ago, it was these selected souls whom activated the gateway from the physical object to the original light source in the Mother Universe. When this was foreseen and warned of a split in the time wave, it was then that this sacred object was placed outside of Earth's time and hidden outside of Earth's time and inside a hidden frequency untouchable by anyone of the surface except those souls selected to be. Infused directly from the bioplasm stream, physical crystals were created housing AN codes. These were released to travel upon the surface grid to allow a direct streaming of the inner planes to the outer planes. This created a two-way transmissional frequency of current to help connect the split time wave to the organic wave selected to be the overall divine blueprint. When incarnated upon the surface grid, these crystals will appear at the appropriate node in time. They will then activate the incarnate, and when deemed appropriate, the codes from the energetic body will create an infinity loop into the physical vessel. This occurs once the vessel is balanced with the energetic bodies anchored with the Mother Universe. The physical vessel at this time will have been fully upgraded, and the capacity to anchor these frequency particles of light into the surface grid from their consciousness fields of existence. Their duty is to then stream into an energetic field hairline light frequency from the sacred AN place within the Earth's atoma. I'm going to pause here and say there's an episode that I did that was called Activating Your Diamond Light Matrix. And this is in that I talk about the download that actually came through one of my sisters. I was doing a session on her because when I can only get what I'm around, I can get what I know, but I can get new codes through others. So she delivered this code of the way we start to ground in is to bury a Lumerian crystal. And you, again, as they're saying here, the right crystal appears when at the right node time. So just, don't force it, but just feel like, when am I called to this one? Even if you do buy it, like, what is calling you? That's your code. That's your AN code crystal. So we talked about burying that crystal and using that as your meditation point. The reason is because that's starting to allow that light to filter into the grid. And it's like when you haven't fully embodied, it's like a weak signal on a radio dial. So it just amplifies where you are. Okay, so they're saying that these particular crystals, the Lemurians will come to you, Lemurians will come to you when you are ready to anchor that crystal. And like I've talked to a lot of people, they're like, oh, I still need to bury my crystal. Everything happens in the exact time that we're ready. So even if you have your crystal, but you haven't gone out and done that, feel into it. Feel like one day if the weather feels right and you just get this inkling or it comes out of nowhere, that's the time to anchor it. And then what happens is that your light sphere becomes so big you don't actually need to meditate on that crystal. It starts to be like your whole being. So for example, in the land here, we go down into like this chalice, and my sphere is the entire chalice. And I'm going to leave it there, but we'll talk about more in a bit. So essentially, as long as I have my crystal where I'm anchored, yes, that sphere is knowing where my GPS coordinates are in the grid. Okay. Upon the surface, these light seeds, through an alchemical process not yet known to man, will expand like popcorn in the quantum field. This creates a healing and a mending within space. When there is less space between the atoms, then they can absorb higher amounts of electricity, hence why lithium is used in the sacred AN crystals mixed with gallium. Your scientists are only just now discovering the little space between atoms in gallium and how much more powerful they are at being semiconductors to energy. By working with the sacred AN crystals, it allows these selected souls who already hold the codes within their energetic bodies can now combine it into their physical vessel. The act is lightning rods, grounding in an orchestrated symphony of these sacred AN codes. To caveat this, they also are radio towers to the Mother Universe, bringing into their field, which curves at the heart crystal, to then flow downward into the atoma, bringing back upward the sacred AN codes, which then emits outward into the surface grid for the collective. This creates an upside-down ankh, for you are walking on the ceiling, so to speak. The time has come to flip the Book of the Dead right side up, to come alive, to come out now. I call upon you, men of the night, for dawn is rising. Sleep no more shall thy, for the lid of the sarcophagus under the mouth of the lion has opened. Hear the roar within. I mean, I feel like I could do mic drop right there, but... Oh my God, yes. Every part of it is a yes for me. So what they're saying is that the closer that these seed crystals, these AN code crystals are to each other, let's say on the grid of the planet, the earth is going to start feeling that. And that's how we raise in frequency, because more of these activation points are grounded in. The earth starts to feel like we're getting there. And so she can raise up. She's moving up, and that helps us raise up. And that's why we commune in nature. It's all this beautiful intertwined dance that we are a part of and we came in to help with. So, I love that part. Okay, we're coming to number 2. Number 2. This is in the chapter called The Illuminated Ones. And I mean, I pretty much highlighted the entire chapter, so that says something. But what they called out to speak about with you guys is this section that is Archangels Speak. We promised humans that we would walk among you again and teach you. But we also asked that thee dance to the beat that makes thy own heart happy. We are here. Do not only seek us as what you portray in ancient paintings or what you see on your viewfinders, TV, phone, or computer. For we too exist within fleshly suits, as thus of us from higher realms come into form. We help to anchor the higher light frequencies of creation. This, in return, helps to raise the vibration of the earth and all of her kingdoms. The physical location locations we incarnate upon help to raise its vibration. Typically, we choose a land area that has had historical drama, such as major wars or natural catastrophes. While incarnated, we also provide a direct portal of light to source for souls to go who need healing. Incarnated angels, you know who you are, for since a child you have been able to exist in both worlds. And then it says, to the elect 144,000, the pure souls of the divine fire, created first as protectors of the All, the Almighty, the Holy, 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 are marked via their higher crystal heart. When directed by the All, hot fire pours out of your crystal heart to surround your light body, protecting you from all that is not pure. A shield of liquid steel, indestructible dragon scales of source fire, for it is the breath of creation, the breath directly from the mother of all. As a guardian of the grid, allow this fire to pour out, dancing like a tornado around you, a tornado of pure love, burning with calm passion for all in creation. Your role is a grid master, the grid not just of Earth, but of Source. The universe houses a plasma grid you assist in guarding. When instructed by the All, you fractaled down on the planet whose grid is in danger. You help to restore balance, for you are the timekeepers. So this section is talking about why we came. It was something that we agreed to do, and it's something that we actually are excited to do. We just came and completely forgot why we were here and just landed in a planet that we probably haven't visited in a long time. It feels foreign because it's a huge drop in vibration. So that's why we all struggled with who we were here and not feeling like we could be ourselves here. You know, we had to take on like a cloak of what other people wanted from us, or just be of service to others and let them shine while you kind of held it down. But the truth is that we carry the most light, and we need to carry it for others. Like, this is why we came. We knew that the step down was going to be difficult, probably not as difficult as it has proven out, but we knew that we could do it. So again, I always talk about whatever you feel guided to, that is your honing device, bringing you to the right people, the right situations, the right activations for you to recognize yourself again. It feels like we're getting closer, and the momentum is building as the frequency of the earth is moving forward. So is our frequency that we live in. So you see how like these, I don't know people that talk about this out openly, you know, but I feel like they're allowing this now because it's like, okay, we need to start popping the popcorn. Like, let's go, kids. It's time. And I don't mean it's time tomorrow. I mean that vibration is moving and accumulating much quicker than it was even a year ago. So I would say, can you sit with that and feel into that purpose? Because once you accept that divine knowing of why you came, it's going to open up for you like the flower that your heart is. And I love that they point out in here that we came holding the crystal hearts. That is our portal to understand everything in ourselves. And even when they talked about the light coming and curving into the heart and then dropping down, as I talked about in actually my hypnosis session with Allison Coe, that's where it cleanses everything. That's where we fractal out all of the like other dimensional stuff that doesn't need to come to this planet, and then it drops down. And yeah, you're a part of it. So I know, wow. It's a lot, but we're not special. We just are here to do a task. And I feel excited about it because we're getting closer to it. So it just makes me feel more, the more that there are activated, the more that you can go to that center of yourself quicker. Like, and also with being unabashed about it, like not in hiding anymore. Like you feel like, wait a minute, I am here to change things. I'm here to open up myself. And so like my first step is going to be talking to my friend about this download that I had. My second step is I'm going to start a podcast because I think there are other people that could benefit from this. My third will be I'm going to start teaching classes, or I'm going to create ceremonies for people so that my codes can start moving. Yes. So if you are knowing that you are one of these selected beings of energy, understand that there's always going to be, with everything, a gradient scale. So where are you on that scale? Are you just now anchoring in and you're starting to like tiptoe around who you actually are? Your goal then is to start sharing like and opening up to your true nature with everyone around you. Because what happens is that then they remember, oh, that's right, we agreed to go on this journey together and I'm actually here to support this journey. But until you speak it and share that, they are not going to know. They're going to think that you're still third dimension and that you're not ready. So I hope that this is helpful, and let's go to number 3. Number 3 is from the chapter called Pearl Code 13, the Crystal Lattice. Now, this isn't a subsection. This is a pretty big section. So I hope you have time to settle in and absorb. Crystals have a pattern of atoms which create an organized crystalline lattice. I would call it the matrix or the grid. The organized crystalline structure of crystals is the most stable form of matter in this universal structure. When one looks up the definition of grid, you also get words like lattice. The universe houses a giant crystalline lattice, connecting all planetary systems and stars together in the network, all bonded together in one embodiment known as the body of the Creator, always evolving, forever growing, just like the cells of your body. What all of the existence was created of, when it starts to transition or become broken, what feeds it? What recreates it? What makes it anew? It is bioplasm. Bioplasm field is generated at the conception from the energy of the DNA molecule. It then forms a template for the developing organism to form. When the organism undergoes any change, it pulls life force energy from the bioplasm around it. What replenishes cells, what creates new cells, what replaces the dead and dying cells, is sourced from the biofield. This field around all of you. Think of a baby in the womb. The baby is safe within the waters of the placenta, feeding from the stomach, known as the solar plexus. It is feeding from its source, the Divine Mother. All of creation is connected through the solar plexus, being fed and wrapped in the placenta, known as the bioplasm field. You can pull from this field and replenish yourself, for it is your own self-sourcing energy, bioenergy. You can also pull from the sun. This is where you can receive energy just like a flower or a plant. You have crystals laced all around you. Everything houses a crystalline lattice, for everything is birthed from bioplasm. This lattice, this network within the universe, connects everything like a slinky web, compressing and decompressing, slowly blowing the air needed to ember the flame that is needed to create the fire, the very life force that creates the mighty sword, sharpening and strengthening it. The slinky spirals of the lattice, forever changing, forever growing, forever forming. Picture the sun as the engine, and each planet as the cylinder. For does the engine need all the cylinders to run smoothly? Does the heart need every chamber to run the body effortlessly? A steady flow of plasma is needed, for if it gets clogged, it makes the flow harder. The cylinders of the engine, if they get clogged, it cannot run smooth. It cannot go as fast. This then causes other parts of the vehicle to slow down and not operate properly. Same with your bodies. All the solar systems are needed for each is a chamber to the universal heart, all connected in this grand grid, the grand crystalline lattice. This is why there is damage done to the planet. This is why when there is damage done to the planet, it affects them all, for all are connected. If there becomes a clog in the chamber of your heart, it affects all of your body. Think of the plaque in the heart chamber like the shadows in the universal structure. What happens to the body when you are not in the vibration of love? What happens to your body when you hold fear, anxiety, sadness, or anger? It becomes clogged. A clogged drain filled with that goo, the plaque, transferred from generation to generation. This creates miasma, which is an inorganic coding in the DNA. Miasma causes disease through energetic blockages created by negative vibrational behaviors and thought patterns. These codes can be formed in any of the energetic bodies of the human and slowly trickle into the physical body where it is recorded within the cells. Some are planted after traumatic events where the emotions are not properly felt, not allowing them to flow through the body and causes the emotions to become stuck. This is where one is stuck in the victim state of mind. This then can be handed down to the next generation through the morphogenic field. A morphogenic field houses the personality template of a creation, meaning that it stores within it how that being will react and think. Since the unity consciousness of the human blueprint is the crystalline lattice, it works in the same manner, meaning that certain creations among the current root race will house miasma. It is up to the soul spark incarnate within the vessel to override these inorganic codings. Some come into the vessel at birth holding light codes and frequencies to automatically override this. This is the Christos light. The Christos light is the hacker of the system. It can hack and override any virus, and this is the Christos mission. Your bodies are merely cells on the earth. When one transitions, another is replenished from the bioplasm field. Your vessels are made of the earth, created from plasma fields that surround her body. When a soul leaves a body, the elements held within it all disperse back into the plasmic field. Held there are the memories and behavioral patterns recorded within those very cells. When the same soul comes back to incarnate, it will attract the same cells as a magnet. This is where the memories of so-called past lives are accessed. Soul wounds are stored here, which cause certain behavioral patterns in current lifetimes. For example, if one had a wonderful childhood, yet doesn't understand why abandonment issues arise, it is because it stems from another lifetime. During the planetary ascension, any unhealed wounds will surface. Triggers will ignite, hence why taking time and stillness is key to this lifetime. Diving deep within the very depths of thy soul to discover if any clearing is needed, making sure no anchors of emotions are going to hold you down when the gateway opens. Hence, miasma is stored in those cells when one is accessing these records. They must decipher what is organic and what is not. Accessing other lifetimes can be tricky if one is not fully balanced within all of their own biofield. If one is fully balanced, then they will only pull into their current field memories recorded that are organic and not of the miasma vibration. This goes for having others put you in a trance-like state to assist you in accessing your own records. When one goes into a trance state, they are not fully anchored to the earth plane, meaning their consciousness is elsewhere. If the one assisting them is fully balanced and holds no miasma, then they can assist one in accessing organic records. However, if the one assisting is not fully balanced, then they will only attract records that is a vibrational match to them and not to the one who is in the trance state. This is why, like, I've had 3 past life regressions, and each one, 3 different people, I had such a knowing that that was the person. And the reason is because you can go into your true past lives, your actual connected I would call it DNA, that are actually going to help you in this life instead of going into the dramas that we've played out in this planet. You want to try to connect to the highest frequency practitioner that you can not only find, but like feel, like you just know. I don't know. Like I didn't know. The reason I knew Allison would be my next person is because I could tell that she would be able to get, by holding space, she could get to the like nuggets that I was ready to go deep into. But I have to look for people that hold a clean, tight space. Okay. Same goes for receiving energy healing from another. If the one performing the energy healing does not have a heart as light as a feather and is imbalanced in any of their or energetic bodies, it will do you no good, for they will simply pour into your energy field what is stored within their cells. They then too will pull into their energetic field what is recorded in your cells. A healer that is pure and fully aligned automatically transmutes unbalanced energy in another, meaning they have no need to disperse any energy from them after a healing session because their role is to transmute it. For me, myself, I can 100 attest to this because when I started doing healings, I think I've talked about this. I got I think it was a bladder infection or a urinary tract infection. And I hadn't had one in 10 years. And I was like, why? Out of nowhere. Once the session ended, within an hour, I had that. It's because my light wasn't anchored yet. And I was like, kind of like moving around with the dance of spirit, versus now when I do a session, I am like solid. I can give the messages and I can move the energy. And it's interesting because I actually am able to move it in a different way than I even started. So I can clear it out through the talking and through the releasing of it's like the knots or the things that are trying to work their way through. Once we start moving through those, then everything starts to open up and move. And I just kind of watch it, and I don't have to, I don't know. I don't even I open up sacred space. I have all my tools. I know that part I'm energetically, protected, but I don't feel drained and I don't feel like exhausted. If anything, it gives me energy because I've been in that higher state for so long. Okay. Source energy is pure and of the love vibration. This is why in ancient times, the oracles and healers held daily practices of purity. They only injected pureness into their bodies and the environment around them. They would have daily bath rituals to purify the vessel, always surrounding themselves within and without in the purest and most high vibrations. There are some whom are here as the conductors, directly connected to the master lattice of source, bringing down their very pillar of light source codes, which filters through their Earth star into the planetary grid lines, helping to replenish it, to heal the timelines for what is the true meaning of time. It is a grid. A grid is formed by thousands of triangles moving around to create many geometric patterns. Okay, so how many ways can I explain this? But I want to try one more. The more that we understand who we are and we carry this openness and of your heart, bringing out your pure your pure crystalline light that's not filtered through my ego, through my insecurities, through my fear. When those have shed, and again, we're always moving through more layers of it, but when they have started to shed, you become more pure in what you're able to provide for others. So what I want to say to this is that I believe that we are here to practice too. We have to move through our own gradation to get to that purity. So what does that mean? We still have to shine our light regardless of what phase you're at. And I 100% trust that whoever is coming to me at whatever time I am in on my own journey, as I move up in frequency, it is the exact right people for where my vibration is. I never suggest healing for people because it is such a personal knowing, and who you do it with is so divinely orchestrated that there is no reason to ask someone to do this for themselves. They know. That's how I say it. You'll know when you know. So what I wanted to mention is that I don't think people should not be giving out their light until they are fully monad embodied. No, we have these, you have to go through the bridge. We have to go through the journey to get there. And in that journey, part of it is going to be practicing, sharing, and giving to others, service to others. So yes, again, 100% align. And then now let's see what number 4 is. Okay, number 4 is from the chapter called Pearl Code 144, The Mind. And this is a section in that chapter called The Gold Dust. We carry with us gold dust when we create a new universal structure. This is source energy. These golden particles are where the legends of fairy dust come from. Exiting the tip of the wand, for it is magical. We use this creative force to go and plant the seeds of creation. And this is why you have seeds when planting a garden, for it is a materialization of gold dust that we in the higher realms use. We gather this from Source, whom is the mighty flower. We gather the pollen from the mighty flower that never dies and is always in bloom. This is where the tree of life comes from. It is where the bag comes from that is engraved in the ancient Sumerian tablets, for in the bag contains the gold dust. This is where the Christ consciousness legends come from, for Christos is life. It simply is life, and it is breath. For when one sees breath beyond the veil, it appears as glistening gold pollen floating in the air. This is the prana, the life force energy, the raw. This is why pollen is golden yellow, for it is a physical mirrored reflection to remind you of life. For if the bee no longer exists, nor the butterflies, or if the birds did not carry the pollen on their feathers from the trees, what growth would you have? If there were no longer seeds in existence to plant your food, what would you have? If the egg and seed between the male and female did not exist, would life exist organically in your world as humans? No. Why is there always a seed and pollen? It is because it is a micro of the macro. To the elect incarnate, this gold dust is held in the energetic field. It filters into the energetic field of an initiate upon interaction. The gold dust is seeded and fed light by their own Christos self. It will then ignite into the physical DNA, causing upgrades and activations. And this is how sacred sigils and symbols work, connecting those of the physical planes to the higher planes of light. The key is to look upon them using your heart crystal, knowing that diamond light cord within to connect to your higher crystal heart. These words of creations are layered and spin in circles. They are discs upon discs upon disc to create the beehive, to make the honey. That is why the nectar of honey is sacred and has layers of meaning. The life force, the prana, the pollen, the gold liquid are important for this life. The river of milk and honey, for what does it mean, dear beautiful spark of light? Seek from thy heart, the eyes of thy heart, to truly understand the sacred messages hidden within ancient scriptures and legends. The codes are held within the words. This is what we do as the unity conscious of archangels from the higher light of the rainbow and of the grayscale. In the movies, they started as black and white, then transformed to technicolor. What does this represent, beautiful spark of light? Learn to read in between the lines, pull back the curtains, and watch behind the scenes as well as in between them. See, I told you guys, there is energy everywhere. We are the ones that open up the portals within the words. We are the ones that can read the void in between each letter. That is the mystery school. That is everything. And the way it starts to, it's gradual. I'm not going to tell you like one day I woke up and I could do it. It's more like the more that I feel 100% resonance with something and my curiosity is pushing me to keep doing it, that's where I find that I can get into those words between the words, because it's myself guiding me to my next step. And then something that I would have read, like my favorite oracle would have meant like my fourth dimensional self would have grasped it as deep as it could. But my fifth dimensional self was like, no, there is more to this. Get on the internet and find. And sure enough, that's where the mystery school was. I knew I couldn't stop there. I knew there was a deeper meaning. And that's what I'm saying. Sometimes it's going to be through technology. Sometimes it's literally a book. But you're going to flower open if those codes are ready to implant inside of you. Okay, we planted this gold dust in the beginning throughout the grids, which are layered upon each other like curtains. Every density, there is a matrix. For a matrix is simply a grid that is the programming, and without it, you would not exist. Therefore, one must learn to love the matrix. Learn that you are one with it. Only then can you reprogram it. If you are the program key, only then can you reprogram it, for you are the program key. The matrix is simply a mirror. The matrix delivers onto you what you deliver it. It is the golden fishnet that holds you in, the golden fishnet that contracts and expands, and when it's time, it collects the fish to bring them upward to the next level of existence. For the net takes you out of the depths of the shadows and brings you up upon the surface of light. Yes. God, yes. This book. Okay. We're going to go to the next one. Okay, this one is from the chapter called Trifold Flame Crystal Heart. And in this chapter, it's under the section that's called Twin Flames. And remember, I used the book as an oracle to talk about what we needed to talk about today. So I didn't pick these. Okay, Twin Flames. Seraphims were created in pairs to be forever braided together. When incarnated in houses, a trifold flame heart that matches their strongest vibration needed during that life cycle, while their twin houses the opposite. Since you were all created directly along the seraphim stream, you have this longing for a twin flame. This conception has been misconstrued. Twins are like two ribbons from the rainbow of creation, braided together, forever working for divine. Ribbons of light projected throughout existence with a diamond thread connecting at the heart, weaving in and out of timelines to assist the Almighty with creating the grand tapestries that hang within the mighty mansion of the Ancient of Days. This longing for a twin flame stems from the deep wound of separation. For the very first feelings a soul has at birth is separation and abandonment. Unconsciously yearning outside of oneself to fulfill this void when all one is seeking lies within their trifold flame crystal heart. There lies the diamond light thread which is connected to the Almighty, spider web of creation. Through this thread, every soul is connected like a string of pearls. For in your true essence, beautiful spark of light, you are a flaming sphere of diamond light, appearing as a pearl to us in the higher realms. The creation of a pearl among your plane starts as a piece of grit traveling into an oyster. This oyster tries to protect itself by placing layers of protection over the grit. Only when the oyster accepts the nature of the grit does it form a pearl, meaning that one places layers around their heart after they experience a feeling that is less than love. Over time, they gain wisdom and learn to accept this feeling, which then allows their light to shine through and transform those layers into a pearl. Therefore, masters use the terms pearls of wisdom, for the pearls are yet another code within your realm that simply is a mirrored reflection of who you are, a reflection of your battle wounds from which you gain wisdom, a reflection of beauty that you are truly the beauty that you truly are. Look in the mirror every day, look deep into your eyes and say the affirmation, I am a pearl. Together, the two flames within the soul braided together are connected to the trifold flame, which is the flame wave connecting to divine source. This is connected to your original divine blueprint, the wholeness of your soul. Thus, for together, you create a tetrahedron. This tetrahedron is inside of every creational body and connects to the Almighty. Higher crystal heart, you are all connected to this trifold flame. When you connect with your higher crystal heart, you are then connected to your oversoul, the purest form of your vibration. This is the meaning of the trifold flame in the heart. Therefore, when one is on the ascension timeline into fifth density, they long for their twin counterpart who is not always on the same plane of existence. However, again, we say you are always connected, and when one feels, so does the other. Some come across a soul incarnate and feel this is their twin, when it is simply a member of their soul family tree. This is such a thin line among the waves of vibration. Think of it as light spectrums. Each color holds a vibration. Within the spectrum of blue, does it not hold the color violet? The level of vibration can be so hair thin that when one is not fully aligned with their energetic body, they are unable to detect this. Energetically, they feel this sense of completion, not fully aware it is not their true counterpart. It is like two puzzle pieces that appear to fit together. However, they still hold space in between them. The colors sapphire, ruby, and emerald create the white light because from these colors, all colors among creation can be created. This is why when we, the seraphim archangels, appear, we sometimes house these jewels upon us, but let it be known that when we do appear, there is never a right or wrong image within your perception. For we appear to each fractal of our very existence in a way that aligns with their vibrational field. This field we speak of is molded by current consciousness. Allow your trifold flame heart crystal to project the image of us that aligns with you. The images painted of us in history upon your plane is merely a perception of the artist. Are you not all artists? Before you always sits a blank canvas. So take the tools source provided for you and paint the image you desire, the image that feeds your trifold flame heart. Oh, I love this. So what I would say here, and I have never, whenever I've tapped into twin flames, I will say that it carries this false like neediness to it. Now, that's not to diminish anyone that believes they've had that experience, but think about where you were in your own ascension journey when you had the experience. Because as it says in the book, you're only going to be able to perceive what you are. So if you have this longing with someone where it's this back and forth and there's drama, and your consciousness is saying, oh, wait, there's this term, twin flame, and I feel this thing with this person. But the truth is, the higher that you rise in your vibration, it's never someone outside of you. It is like, I mean, look, I love Richard and he is my life and I love my animals, but my biggest love is here and nowhere else. So I don't have a longing for it outside of me. And I know that I've created such a loving divine presence inside that my whole world could alter, and I know I will still be centered. So that's the love that we're trying to get to. And that's what I mean by when you are completely aligned in your heart, you don't need these terms anymore. It's like, kind of again in this coding, is that then you're like, duh, it was here all the time. But I had to get there myself. Like, it's a long fucking journey, but it's just a journey to the center of you, and you've always carried it. So it's like the weirdest thing, but I'm telling you guys, everything starts here and ends here. So when I say about, finding the things that you love about yourself, and I remember talking when I first started my journey, the assignment I got was to look at myself in the mirror and tell myself, I love you. And what that does is just starts breaking down all of these anchors that are ready to move through, because you can't look at yourself in honesty and say that if you're holding resentment towards yourself. And so it's like the fastest way to spark those wounds to come to the surface, so that you can then look at yourself and just like, oh, I love you. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, we are on number 6. And this is from part 2 of the book, which is the Melchizedek order. And the energies between the sections of the book, there's just 2 sections. The first part of the book is from the Seraphim, and then it moves into the Melchizedek order. So this chapter is from the chapter called Melchizedek Ur Mandate. And in that chapter is a section called Metatron's Cube. And I love when codes are decoded for me. And this was one of the codes that I didn't know. So I was like, love it. Okay. From a sun, 12 planets are always birthed. From every galactic sun, 12 galaxies are birthed. From a monad, 12 higher selves are birthed. From a higher self, 12 lower aspects are birthed. When you look upon Metatron's cube, you see 13 circles. The center represents the sun from which the other 12 are birthed and will ascend into. Everything contracts and expands. When they merge back into the center of the circle, the sun, they become one with Metatron, the universal mind. At a planetary level, this is happening. Earth is merging back into Venus. The first merging you do on an individual level at this now time is to merge with your Venusian self. There are 12 aspects of yourself that need to merge as one before ascending into your pearl essence. The 12 planets within your solar system will always do this before merging as a one again with the sun. These 12 aspects of yourself are seen as archetypes. This is what was represented as the 12 disciples or the 12 Knights of the Round Table in the original teachings. It merely meant that the 12 archetypes of who you are, those 12 layers of the rainbow ribbon laced as your pearl, the 12 energy centers needed to merge before you are married to your Christ self, the sun of your own soul spark. When the 12 aspects come back into the 13th, it creates wholeness. The number 13 is sacred to the divine feminine because it comes from birthing the 12 aspects in every creation. It is also associated with death. Death represents the transition back into wholeness. 13 is the birthing of all of creation. Within your energy centers, the 13th is connected to the cosmic waters of creation. It is attached to your higher Christos heart. Once you have ignited all 12 energy centers, anointed by Archangel Seraphina and Archangel Metatron, the next step is anchoring your higher Christos heart. Within this holds the 144 petals of the cosmic blue rose of the Divine Mother. Each petal is a representative of the 144 DNA strands of rainbow ribbons laced within each soul spark, a mere reflection of us, the 144. Okay. So, Metatron's cube, I've never felt like I understood it, so I couldn't really grasp it, and so I don't have it in my experience. But I've always been curious. So to hear this explanation of what it actually is representing makes so much sense to me, because we all are going this is how I've seen when we are connected to the grid and all of our pillars of light are connected to that matrix or grid within the earth. It looks like Metatron's cube, and it goes like this. So once every pinpoint is pinned all around the world, it goes like that. It's like, that's the breath that I've felt. That's when it actually happens, it's going to be like a contraction and then a and then it's a breath of fifth dimension. But it has to go through the birthing canal of that, and that all accumulates back to the core of the earth, which is where the 13th sphere in the Metatron's cube is anchored. So just hearing again these pieces that start to I got that, but I didn't know it was connected to Metatron's cube. And now I understand why I've been vibrationally connecting with Amanda Ellis, because she carries Metatron energy and all of her sprays. I mean, today I'm using the Commander Ashtar for this conversation. I'll give you some more. They all are, again, you draw in what you are. So the tools, even if you consciously don't get it, why you're drawn to something, get it. Understand that these tools are vibrations that are just here to move us as a collective closer to the finish line. Okay, we have one more. Our final code. It's number 7. And this is Pearl Code 4, the 144 Suns program. During the marriage with your higher self opens a gateway into your Christos DNA stream. This streaming allows you to access all 144 strands of your very essence, and your very essence is created upon. There are 4 stages upon ascension into the heavenly worlds and 4 stages of the descension into the material realms. When looking upon Pearl Code 44, which represents the cosmic gateway, you will see all 12 dimensions coded within it. There are 3 bridges upon the ladder which reside at 4D, 6D, and 8D. A bridge is simply a place where the soul spark goes to integrate with the newly activated DNA strands before fully ascending into the next plane. It also is a place where the soul spark resides when descending and learns how to exist within the less activated DNA strands. While at the bridge plane, a soul spark is given a choice. Upon crossing the bridge, they can see a widened view of options, like a horse with blinkers removed. During this crossing, it is truly an eye-opening event for the soul. Some souls are very excitable and go very fast across the bridge, where others tread lightly. Every soul goes at its pace, at the pace that they feel most at ease with. The legends of a rainbow bridge stem from this, for the rainbow is simply a metaphor of vibration, the very vibrations each world is created upon. I mean, you guys know, I've talked about fourth dimension and how pretty much we all are residing there. We get toes dipped in fifth once in a while and back in third once in a while, but we are in fourth. Okay, during a planetary ascension, some souls will cross in groups as a unity consciousness. During this crossing, these groups of souls vibrate at the same frequency and are contracted to come together before the end of that incarnation. This can be seen as a soul tribe. Just like tribes in human history that travel together, so do these souls upon creational worlds. Typically, these souls feel a kindred connection because they do stem from the same monad. And with that, my goodness, I feel like my heart is on the line here. And I just am so so blessed and honored to share this stuff with you guys. And please indulge in this. And I was telling someone yesterday, I'm so envious that you get to read it for the first time. I wish I could go back to that place of just like absorbing the codes and the knowings. And so Zaneta Ra has actually more than just this book. I don't remember how many books are in the series, but she was told and guided to that she would be channeling a whole series within this Pearl Code. So I haven't read it yet. I haven't even opened it yet, but I did order one that is in the series, and it's called Rising Merits, the 42 Pearl Temples of Ancient Egypt. And this book is, as far as I know, which I should just actually read the back for you. Let me see. Yeah, I'll read the back. The 144 seraphim bring forth the pearl teachings taught in the 42 pearl temples of ancient Egypt. In this book, you will learn where each temple was located along the River Nile, their emblem, the layered wisdom of the sacred Egyptian teachings, and much more. This is a coded book designed to awaken your remembrance, to help you trace the steps you took along the sacred pearl pathway. The pearl priests and priestesses held the title Mary, together are called the Merits. This book is designed to allow the Master Mary inside of you to raise and remember your divine directive. Allow the serpent fire inside of you to dance again. Allow the sacred honey from Mother Isis to pour down your spine and expand the wings of your consciousness. Only then can you fly again into the Horus Gateway to meet your Christos self, who is seated upon the solar throne. This is a grand event, the solar flash that occurs within your very own bridal chamber. Allow your pillar of light to encompass you. It is time for the golden Benu egg of the pearl essence to form around you once again. So if I am as activated as I was by this first book, I will be doing an episode on this. But I am so excited to have had this come into my life. Noga, thank you again, my dear, 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 dear sister. Thank you for opening up your heart. Thank you for reaching out to me. Thank you for knowing that I was ready for this. And I just have goosebumps. I have so much gratitude. Thank you guys for being here. And I wish you the best on this journey.